This morning on Media and Society, we ask whether the South African media is doing enough to alert South Africans of social media and online scams. Well, hello and welcome to Media and Society. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Naledi Moleo and we are with you until 10 a.m. We have a packed show ahead of us, and of course we're always keen to hear your thoughts on the various discussions that we cover today as we discuss mainstream media and its role in informing you about online scams. Give us a call throughout this hour on 011-714-0661 or 0662. Also tweet using the hashtag SABC Media Society or at SABC MNS. We're also taking your WhatsApp voice notes on 011-714-6261. Let's get into the show. So the media is responsible not just for entertaining, but also for informing the public. But we all know that South African households have been under immense financial pressure, and many are now falling for social media scams that promise unrealistic returns on investments. The question we ask this morning is, do you feel that the mainstream media is doing enough to spread awareness and educate you on some of these scams? Remember, we're taking your calls throughout this hour, 011-714-0661. Our producer, Mosam Kalipi, sat down with Marcelo Vieira, who is a partner and cybersecurity lead at KPMG South Africa, to get more insights. Take a look.
What makes people so prone to falling victim to these sorts of crimes? What, is there like a certain target that these criminals go for? And, what makes people so prone to these type of crimes?
Look, I mean, I guess the simple answer is yes, right? I mean, people, they always prey on the desperate, the needy, those that think of the old 401 scams. I mean, it was always like, you've won $1 million, click on this link, register here, because people would fall gullible and say, well, if I'm knee deep in debt, I could do with $1 million, right? So they will always target those needy. But I mean, a lot of campaigns are also very sophisticated, very targeted, right? It just depends on the motivation. So ultimately, I mean, we all prey to this. I think myself, I've been very close to being a victim of a potential phishing campaign. So it just depends on the timing. Of an event. In my case, I was expecting a certain transaction to happen on my banking. And I didn't know if it was coincidence or if it just happened, but there was an email that came through that looked very legitimate. It looked exactly like my bank's letterhead, even the email address looked legitimate. And at the time I was expecting this transaction to happen, but something seemed off, right? So it can happen to anybody, right? There's, like I said, there is targeted attacks, don't get me wrong. I mean, a lot of what we've seen over time has been targeted, and others are just opportunistic. Again, we've got to appreciate this is a business. And especially, as I mentioned earlier, with artificial intelligence, machine learning, the technologies that the attackers are using is sitting out there scouring the internet. So they're looking for low-hanging fruits as well. And so it's not just somebody sitting in a basement trying to hack into your PC, right? This is continuously running scans to the internet, looking for vulnerabilities, looking for targets.
From Marcelo Vieira, we're all quite susceptible to falling for some of these scams. And so let's get into what some of these scams look like. But really, we're asking you if you feel satisfied with what the media is doing to keep you on top of the changes that are happening in cyber crimes. And joining us to have that discussion is someone who has had first-hand experience. So we're joined by Osvinulia Maredi Kekana. She's in studio with us. Also joining us in studio is Ms. Ilonka Badenhurst, who's Managing Executive at Wireless Application Service Providers Association, or WASPA. And we're also joined by Mr. Bright Patle, who is a financial and accounting planner as well. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. A good morning to you and welcome to Media and Society.
Good morning.
Vanilla, should we start with you? Because
Definitely.
You've had the unfortunate experience of having gone through a scam, right? 40,000 rand taken from you. Take us through what happened in your case.
I'm one skeptical person, personally. So I'm always one person who says no. I'm very easy to say no.
Yes.
Before I could say yes, I have to, I have to say so many no's.
You do your checks and balances.
Yeah, so I don't know, but this one got me. It got me. So an old friend of mine, a very close of mine, sent me a referral link, and I said, scam, capital letters, I'm not gonna do it. But now she invited me into the WhatsApp groups. That's where you see the screenshots of the money that they put in and their returns. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to sit back and regret not having this opportunity pass me by.
Yes.
That's why I was prone, and that's what lured me into the scam. Yeah.
And how did it unfold? So you join the WhatsApp group, you see screenshots, and then what are you asked then to do?
It took me, I think it took me a week for me to actually fall for it. It took me a week. Yeah.
And you were asked to invest how much?
The startup was $40 US dollars. So it's like you register on the Binance.
So this is an international, this is forex.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like your cryptocurrency. Yeah.
Okay.
So you register on Binance. From Binance, you get to crypto, whatever they call it. And then actually this one, it just blew up recently. Its name is Peace Range. So I think it was the 22nd, 24th of November last year. That's when it just collapsed. The website started malfunctioning and all that. So you would buy your grade 1. They call it VSPs. So it's like you buy a cow, and then it's a Ponzi scheme.
You buy a cow?
You buy a cow
as
online.
in the animal, a cow?
Not necessarily an animal, but that's the word they use. You buy the cow, you milk it every day. It's just a click on button. You just go, I don't know what happens.
Oh, tell us, yeah.
Yeah, you just go online, you type your piece range, you log into the website, you get your credentials in, and then you are in. You just press milk. And then you earn your $1 every day.
You earn $1 a day?
$1 a day.
Okay.
Yeah. And then it will actually last you, the lifelong of the cow is 365 days. So you'll be earning $365 with your $40. So now, when it was about to blow up, they were running specials, buy one, get one free. And then the VSPs, there's one until 8. So one is $40. VSP 8 is $60. $60,000.
Whoa.
Yes. So I have a cousin of mine who actually went into a bank, got a loan, and invested into this scheme that just,
Invested 60,000 US dollars.
That's correct.
And you lost 40,000 rand.
That's correct.
That's a lot of money.
It is.
That's a lot of money.
It shifted me. I was off balance financially, really. I'm still recovering even today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see you, Ilanka, you're shaking your head and nodding actually while you listen to this. I think firstly, tell us a little bit about the work that WASPA does, and then we'll get into, what you make of what you hear from Vernolio.
Okay, perfect. So WASPA is a self-regulatory body that operates within the mobile space in South Africa. So we have members, companies that offer services to consumers in South Africa. They become members of WASPA. We also then have a code of conduct that they have to follow, and these very strict rules. And we've got a complaints procedure where consumers can lodge complaints if they believe that our members do not follow the rules. So in short, we basically regulate a lot of the value-added services that are offered to consumers within the mobile space in South Africa.
Okay, and how does that then link back to cybersecurity and us being able to have checks and balances to see that what I'm buying into is credible?
So I think a big part that WASPA plays there is about consumer education, and I cannot stress that enough. I think what you said earlier about whether we are doing enough in this space, and it's a definite no. I honestly don't think we are doing enough to educate consumers, because the reality is, as cliche as it always sounds, but knowledge is power. And only once you truly know and know about these scams and what to look out for, can you empower yourself not to become a victim of these scams. And unfortunately, these types of scams are everywhere, and they keep evolving. If we think about it, the criminals don't discriminate. They will take from whomever and whatever they can. And the scams have become so sophisticated, it isn't just as obvious as reading something and being, oh, they made a spelling mistake, or this is clearly from an email address that's not legitimate.
Or a wonky web browser address.
Yeah, you can see that there's absolutely something wrong. It's become so sophisticated, and they spend thousands and thousands of rands to make sure that it does look as legitimate as possible, from their websites to their customer support in the beginning. So it is quite easy to fall victims to these things. And unfortunately, I would always say, can you regulate it to the point where there won't be any scams or criminals? And no, wherever there's money, there will always be criminals or always be scams. The best that we can do is to try and the various bodies, and I think the government has quite a big responsibility here. It's one thing to have legislation to protect consumers, but to educate them about those rights and even where to go to if they feel that they've become a victim or potentially a victim, where to report this.
Yeah.
So that we've got this information.
So one of the things I found as a media practitioner has been that as every time we talk about cybersecurity or cybercrime or online scams, every time we have that discussion, we're having a different discussion, and there's new add-ons. There's the dating scams, then there's the phishing, and the list gets longer and longer and longer. And what we're supposed to do is educate the public about what to look out for, but what to look out for gets longer and longer. And as you said, Ilonka, very sophisticated. At KPMG, you're looking into some of these issues, right, from a cybersecurity point of view. At that level, where you are an audit firm, it's tracking serious high-level data, what are you seeing about especially the prevalence of scams and how fast they're evolving?
Well, look, as an accountant, you get to experience working with individuals, corporations, businesses, and so forth. And really, everything is the same. You can go as back as the 1800s. Where there's money, there's always plans to take money from another person's pocket. And I'm not even aware of the scam that has been mentioned, but the mechanisms are all the same. And, how it gets, so how sort of it evolves is that they make sure to legitimize themselves as much as possible. And just looking at the mechanisms of what happened, the milking and all these things, that's a distraction. Because at the end of it, what it comes down to is they want the money away from yourself and in their pockets. And then what they do, they try to keep you busy, look as if you're working, legitimize, you're busy telling people. And at the end of the day, whatever that's on the screen, that's just paper. But the real money is somewhere, something is happening. And at the end of it, things are at such a point that it could possibly be a legitimate situation, but people have nefarious intentions. And then at the end of the day, the money is gone when it's time for you to actually take it out.
Yeah.
So once again, it comes back to that education, it comes back to that knowledge, because why are you choosing this versus other means of, raising capital or your money?
So let's try this over the next hour, is to really talk about a few examples, right, of what people should be looking out for. As the media, having that responsibility to try and educate you about what's out there so that you're able to keep your money in your own pocket and use it where you want to use it. We're taking call 011-714-0661. Nevin is on the line in KZN. Nevin, a good morning to you.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes, thank you for calling.
Yeah, the Peace Run scam. I was part of it. I was on it as well. I actually just SMS on the same group, because it's a group of KZN people that were on it. A lot of people lost money. Some people lost money in the hundreds of thousands. I was lucky. I lost about 19,000 rand.
Still a lot, yeah.
But yeah, and the way they made it so real is I actually at one stage withdrew 1,400 rand, and that's how they lure you in, because you can see that you can actually draw money, and then you put in more money because it climbs up, certain stages. And when the people started putting more and more money, I was about to do it until that particular day, but I just had it crashed. And the person that was running the scam, we've got recordings of him, voice recordings, everything. And he's going to do the same thing somewhere else. He's going to start up somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, this is what's concerning. Mervyn, let me ask you this. I mean, do you feel that there's enough sort of education to protect people like yourselves? And I'm talking now from mainstream media, from falling victim to these scams once again in the future.
No, there is not. There is no warnings, even from media or to let us know, listen here, don't join this here, this is a scam, etc., etc. There is absolutely no warning, and people are desperate. I mean, I lost my job in 2019, and that's the reason I fell for this here. to try and see if I can increase my money or to try and see if I can make any money out of this.
It's
So
the
it's actually quite
desperation.
sad.
Yeah. Mervyn, thank you so much for calling and for sharing your perspective on this as well, and just how you've been affected. I will take more calls, 011-714-0661. You can tell us about your own experiences if you experienced something similar, or just get in touch with us and tell us what you'd like to see more from the media's point of view, mainstream media, in terms of being able to protect you from falling victim to some of these scams. I think a really big one, and perhaps before we actually get into that, let's respond to Mervyn quickly. Vanoli, I saw you nodding when Mervyn was calling, was saying that there's that allure, that at the beginning there is a sense that there is some return. So for many people, once I'm able to withdraw money, it means, oh, this thing works. Did the same happen with you?
That's correct. I never got a chance to withdraw any money because I think I took longer to decide whether I'm in or not. By the time I invested, after 2 weeks, it crashed. It collapsed. That was it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then you've got this new trend where everyone is talking about cryptocurrency. Bright, I'm going to bring you in here.
That's correct.
The reality is a lot of us can't even really explain what Bitcoin is. And then you've got a lot of people in our very vulnerable communities investing in cryptocurrency. I mean, have you seen a trend around that?
Look, Bitcoin has been around for many years. The problem is we're talking about globalization, whereby the world, international spaces are becoming localized and everything is happening on your phone. So when it comes to Bitcoin, the problem is terminology, it's knowledge. You need to understand there's something called cryptocurrency, meaning that it's just like money, but the difference is it's not fiat money. It's a digital currency. So it can function as normal money, but the problem is with normal money, you have your reserve banks, you have all the conventional, things that are available that you understand. Like you have a piece of currency, a 1 rand, 10 rand, whatever the case may be. You use it and you tender and you get whatever goods and services that you get. And then these new evolving mechanisms, they come and copy the same thing, but now they come with sort of advanced and new type of ways of sort of using money. Now the problem is people come and take advantage of those that know less. And now the issue with cryptocurrency, although it is legitimate, because you have people like Elon Musk and so forth accepting cryptocurrency, as well as Lamborghini. You can buy a Lamborghini via cryptocurrency, so it is legitimate. But the problem is, just like money, people come up with schemes and mechanisms and then they turn it into something else. Just last year with FTX, they literally swindled the whole world. They were even funding the US government. They were funding big corporations, being advertised in sporting events and so forth. So the legitimacy is there. But now the problem is you're throwing money in there. You need to ask yourself, why am I throwing my real money in exchange for some digital asset? Once again, we go back to the cows and everything. Those are all distractions, smoke screens to make you believe that you're doing something, but unfortunately you don't understand. And that's where problems arise.
We're going to take a break, but when I come back, I actually want to sit on this cryptocurrency issue for a little bit longer and talk about the big story that broke last year, FTX and the collapse, and even, the founder of FTX facing criminal charges. It's a big global story. But on the back of FTX, you also have legitimate platforms like Binance that people are using on a daily basis. And so where do we start to tell, where the nonsense is and what's real, right? Where you've got FTX that leans on platforms like Binance, where does that leave the regular citizen who wants to invest and wants to know where the scam is? We'll get into that on the other side of this. Remember, we're still taking your calls, though, 011-714-0661. Stay with us. We're back in a moment. Welcome back to Media and Society. Remember, the show is not complete without your input. So give us a call on 011-714-0661 or 0662, or tweet us using hashtag SABC Media or Media Society, or send us a tweet at SABC_MNS. You can also send us a voice note via WhatsApp, even a video of you in a little selfie, in selfie mode, telling us your thoughts on the discussion we're having. That number is 011-714-6261. We're still having this discussion about how mainstream media communicates to you the prevalence of online and social media scams. And we go back to the discussion that our producer Mosam Kalipi had with Mr. Vieira on the prevalence of online scams.
We've just come from the festive season, and it's January, so a lot of people are sort of, don't have money. So it's very easy to fall for such scams, when you're desperate for money. What are maybe some of the red flags that people need to look out for?
Look, again, with emails, if it's phishing campaigns, I think you've got to be very careful. I always want to say, if it seems suspicious, stop. I can get into the technicalities of what to look for in emails, right? So, you need to look for badly written emails. The easiest one is always look at the legitimacy of the email address that sent the email, right? Sometimes they do mask it, but if you go into the details, you can actually see it's not from standardbank.com as an example, or pickandpay.com, right? You need to verify the email address. But even there are techniques for them to be able to spoof that. Again, look at the construction of the email. Like in my case, if I take my latest potential campaign, there was something odd, and the only thing that caught me odd, it wasn't the look and feel of the campaign was perfect, but it was they asked me to do something that was out of the norm, right? And that's sort of what made me suspicious to say, but why? I've never done this, and I've been banking this bank for the last 5-6 years. They've never needed me to authorize a transaction online. That seemed odd, and that's what made me think, okay, hold on, something's wrong here. And all I did is I stopped, right? Stopped, phoned the bank, and verified. So, if you feel something's off, stop, right? Verify. Phone a trusted source, because don't just click on a link, capture a couple of credentials, and later on say, this maybe wasn't the right thing.
What is maybe the biggest sort of cybercrime that we are seeing at the moment?
The courts ruled in favor of the consumer against the case against ENS Africa, being the law firm. And I think that's quite relevant, because that's the first time in a long that there's been a precedent set that organizations can't just, I guess, put their heads in their sands and be comfortable in not helping educate or putting the necessary controls to train and educate the end user of the risks of cybersecurity or cyber crimes, right? So I think that in itself, not that it's the largest. Not that it's the largest hack at the moment, especially from a South African landscape perspective, but I think it's significant in that it's the first time that the courts have now ruled to say, no, there's an obligation by the business, right? You can't just transfer the risk to the consumer and say, well, it's a consumer's problem. They should have known better. They shouldn't have transferred the money to the wrong account.
Yeah, that's our conversation that our producer, Mosam Kalipi, had with Marcelo Vieira, partner and cybersecurity lead at KPMG. And we are still in studio with Ms. Vinolia Maredi Kikana, who is a victim of an online scam. We're also in conversation with Ilanka Badenhurst, Managing Executive at Wireless Application Service Providers Association, or WASPA. And we're also with Mr. Bright Patle, who is a financial and accounting planner. We're taking your calls, 011-714-0661. Anonymous is on the line in Pretoria. Anonymous, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm well, sir. Thanks for calling.
Yes. I saw this show now, and I just remembered what happened to me in 2016. I was really scammed by someone I know. And that person recruited me, said, no, you can make a lot of money through Bitcoin and whatnot. There was a certain website whereby you register your details, you open an account, and they will be showing you how the money is growing very fast. Through how he showed me his things, and he was driving a very good car by then. Later only to find that he borrowed the car. And through the way he deceived me, I made a loan of 80,000. I invested on the site. After 3 months, when we tried to log in, we can't go through. The details doesn't go through. I tried to ask him what happened. Therefore, he disappeared. He even relocated from Pretoria. And I would like to warn people that, no, if you want money, just go to work. If you want money, go to work. There is no easy money. You can't just get rich overnight through the online systems. That one is a no-no. I'm warning all South Africans that please be careful.
Unfortunately, though, Anonymous, we are told that it's also important to invest, and that's where the issue comes in, right? That a lot of us do want to be able to work and invest and watch our money grow. But thank you so much for calling, and I think you've raised an interesting point, particularly around referrals And these happen. Your scam happened via a referral as well,
That's
Vanolia?
correct.
Yes.
That's by a very trusted friend.
And this trusted friend, were they aware that it was a scam?
I don't think they were, because they got hit hard also.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about how that happens, where that web starts to build, right? And I was saying to Anonymous, we all do want to work, but we still want to be able to invest. And like Vanolia, if I see an opportunity and I see the word Binance on there, I immediately think, oh, legitimate, must be.
Yeah, I think we all make that assumption, right? If it's a referral from a friend, I mean, if they trust something, we'll trust something. Or if it's advertised via somebody that is reputable, a celebrity as an example, you would probably think that it is. Or, you know, the way that they advertise and market it has an impact on the consumer, on whether they think it's legitimate or not. Here I would say, I always say, like, we all need to invest. That's the reality, right? And we're all going through different financial situations. But there are so many vehicles that are trusted, that are vetted, and that are regulated. If you want to invest, use one of those vehicles, right? The quick fix options are usually where the trouble starts to come in. Like you said, although cryptocurrency is legitimate, it's very unregulated in large parts, and there's a lot of uncertainty about it. If you want to invest in that type of vehicle, then you need to do the proper research and you know, educate yourself about that type of model of investment. Alternatively, using the safer options like going with your bank, investing in shares or something, and educating yourself about those vehicles that are highly regulated is definitely a safer option. I mean, the returns are lower, but it's definitely safer than investing with a high risk, high reward, which if it goes the other way, has a massive impact on you as a person.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said, though, about when you get onto your social media and you see a high-profile individual, perhaps a Usain Bolt, a Kardashian, saying, yes, this is where you can put your money. You might think that it's legitimate. And we were talking about that with Mr. Brightpath, and we'll get into that in a moment. Let's quickly get a call from David in KZN. David, good morning to you.
Yes.
Yes, thank you for calling.
Yes, you're speaking to David. I'm calling from a show. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm one of the people who was scammed last week. Online scam. They said to me, they phoned me, like the bank is phoning, they want to link my account on with the e-bucks.
Yes.
So, they gave me all my details, like account number for my bank. And I thought it was the bank. Finally, they asked me for the card number because they wanted to link the account, e-bucks account with my account. And then after that, they said they're going to send me the message. And they sent the message. Then I discovered that now they're acting as if now I'm purchasing something online. Which I never do that. So they sent me the OTP, but I declined it. And then I thought maybe they won't be able to take my money. But afterward, the money was gone. But I went to the bank now to stop to block my account, and the bank is going to assist me on that.
Was the bank able to assist you?
The bank was able to assist me.
Okay.
They said they're going to open up the fraud case, and then they will contact me in about 10 days.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they blocked my card, and I applied for the new card.
Sure. That's a massive inconvenience. It's a massive inconvenience. What's the mistake that you think David made there?
Look, when it comes to financial planning, you need to understand what type of investment vehicle you're operating in. And once you understand that, what we do with clients is we teach you, or we make you understand what is your risk appetite, because there's different types of risk of appetites for different types of investors. Now you can go from conservative to ultra aggressive or very aggressive. Everything we've been discussing right now, it's beyond very aggressive. That's what we need to understand, because at the end of the day, if something involves you doing things that are out of the norm, because remember, Poppy Act is here for a reason. All these ways of giving out your information, there's particular reasons why your information needs to be protected. Because as you said, there was OTPs, there's all sorts of mechanisms. Those things, once again, they're smoke screens. once these people have what they need, which is card details, it's very particular personal information, they can do whatever they want. And then for them, the jig is up, they just take your money. And that's how a lot of these schemes happen. It starts as a pyramid, as we call it a pyramid scheme. It's very nice when the pyramid is still small, but the more the referrals come in, the pyramid goes bigger and bigger. And what happens? Just like a pyramid, the bottom is the foundation. The foundation is not strong, and that's why the people that come thereafter are the ones that lose. So at the end of the day, it's important to engage with the professional, because we can have all sorts of regulatory measures, but the problem regulatory measures, we were listening to the insert from the guy from KPMG.
Yes.
Already what he's talking about, I can say based on my experience, some of the things are outdated. There's even a more concerted effort from your Google and all these domain providers. They've been asked, guys, because the domains, they can be copied. Legitimate domains can be copied.
Yes.
And that legitimacy factor in terms of screening cannot work anymore. And they're asking more responsibility from such companies to actually do more by authenticating domains and not allowing these things to get to people. Because once you see something, for you to come to me as a professional, there's too much time. You think you have to act then and there, and that's the problem.
You see, the challenge I have with what you're saying is that there's the responsibility I have as a consumer not to give out my personal information. But there also have been massive stories that we've seen, and the media certainly having brought them to you, of big financial institutions having had very important data leaked. I mean, just last year, I think it was the TransUnion South Africa having confirmed that, Naughty SecTU obtained data belonging to the Bureau. I mean, these are big stories that we've seen, and it's not just been one bank, it's been quite a few financial institutions. So how safe is our data really, Ilanka?
I think what consumers need to realize here with our personal data, it's become one of the biggest commodities in the world. Criminals really would do anything to get their hands on these different types of data. So as a consumer, I agree, we need to take certain steps to secure it, but these companies also have a very big obligation to have the right security measures in place and to inform you if there has been a breach, so that you can change passwords or change cards or update information to secure yourself. So I think we need to work together, unfortunately, in this ecosystem to secure ourselves.
Yeah. Let's take calls. 0117140661. Funega's on the line in the Eastern Cape. Funega, good morning to you.
Morning, how are you?
I'm well, Swami. Thanks for calling.
Thank you very much. I'm also listening on what you guys are talking about, and I am kinda a victim. However, when I started, I'm not sure if I should start mentioning names of the companies, or is that...
We're not doing it. You are. You go ahead.
All right. So I invested on this one. It was called Walter Peck Ranch, where we were buying chickens online, beef jerkies online, and things like that. So what happened, it started sometime in October. I started investing, then I started recruiting, then I was upgraded to an admin in our group. Then other people, they started joining, and towards the end, it's when they started running special. They were ridiculous, where you investing 200 Rand and you be getting 3,000 Rand in 5 days and things like that. And the person that I actually said for is my aunt. She actually invested 20,000, and she was expecting 600,000 in return after 20 days. Then come the day we were supposed to claim, but for myself, I only started with as little as 100 Rand. Then out of that, I gained about 5,000 Rand. Then from there, I was using commissions and other people from who, and I feel very bad, very, very bad, because now I was an admin. I felt like now I'm at the important part, and I started getting paid like 300 Rand for being an admin and an agent and things like that. Then my aunt invested this 20,000. Come the day, it was on the 10th of Jan, exactly I remember, because they started running specials in December to get more people into thinking that in Jan, when people are waiting for salaries, they'll be rich and all. Come the 10th, to my surprise, at 10 o'clock, which is the time for withdrawals, first I was removed as an admin, and as everyone else who was an admin, they were removed. Then the group was blocked. We didn't have access to anything, nobody. Before you renew it, we were told that we need to pay 2,000 government tax. because now the government has noticed that people are getting too much returns. Then other people, they paid. But I didn't, because I was expecting in Jan that day, I was expecting like 48,000. Personally, I was expecting that, but I was skeptical to pay the 2,000 rand. Before we knew it, we then were told that somebody has scammed the ranch.
Let me ask you this, Funeka, because what you're describing sounds like a very popular sort of pyramid scheme, and the names change. And I guess we're saying this earlier, that the names change over the years. But these sort of pyramid schemes that you're talking about, we've seen for decades. I mean, for someone who says, well, it depends on when you get in and get out quickly, what do you say to that person now, having gone through that experience yourself?
The only thing that I would say to people as my advice is please stay alert and do background checks before you can do this, because the biggest concern that, in fact, the how can I put it? How I would like the government and the social media society, how can they help us is when we see these things, can we come to a certain number, call a certain number, have a certain contact to verify the legitimacy of everything, because we lost jobs, we desperate, we broke. Some of us can't provide for families. So if you see something like you start from as little as 100 rand, I mean, everyone would fall for that. But in the long run, people are putting a huge sum of money and they lose a lot. So you are more than broke than you were before.
Oh.
So I would honestly just ask the government to see if can they help us in any way. We are falling for these things because we're hungry, honestly. But we just need somebody now from the media society and things like that to say, you can call this number, double check, or just to verify the legitimacy. Then if it's legit, we can go. But if it's not, then we can just stop from there.
Yeah.
Because the same person that recruited me on the ranch, she actually went on my Instagram. She texted me on Instagram to say, now you can invest on Luno. And from as little as 3,000 rand, I told her straight, just leave me alone.
Thank you so much for calling in, Funeka. We really appreciate that call. I wanted to touch on something that we skipped over a little bit earlier from Anonymous. And I want to give this to you, Ilanka. Anonymous talked about giving out their banking details. Again, this is where it gets really difficult to tell the smoke screen from what's real, right? Because if I'm making a purchase with any sort of subscription, whether it be, I don't know, a beauty online product that I'm buying, a lot of the time I will get a call. If I'm buying something, I will get a call, give us your banking details, and it's a legitimate thing. What are the details that I'm not supposed to give out?
Okay, I think the reality is that most banks actually give very, very good information to their customers and to their clients to say, we will only ask you for certain information and we will never via email or via phone ask you for the following. It's on their website. And I think consumers need to educate themselves if they do have an account to see what they are allowed to provide or not. It's the oldest thing in the book now, or it's not. Phishing and smishing has been around for years, but we saw a major increase over December in voice calls from call agents pretending to be from a bank, verifying information, checking account details, and consumers just willingly giving it. It sounds legitimate, it's their bank, they're just confirming, and they normally give you one or two things that they already have. Yeah. So you feel, they're on the system, they've got my information, and you're just adding one or two things. You should never give your card number out. You should never give your CVV number out.
And that's the little number at the back of your card. Yes. The little 3-digit number at the back of your card.
Yes, that's like a PIN for you, and you should keep that as personal and private as possible. And preferably, I always say, if somebody phones you on the phone, I like to rather go onto the official website and then get the official numbers and then call back to the call center to verify if that was a legitimate call. Or actually go into my own bank if that's the case. I don't give any of my personal information to anybody over the phone. I feel if they need the information, then it needs to happen in a transaction where I'm comfortable in providing it, but not to somebody that I don't know who's on the other side of the call. Right. So I just don't give any of my personal information out and keep myself as safe as possible in that regard.
Rather say no and then and get the details later so that you're clear. We're going to continue with this discussion and maybe start looking at some ways forward. We'll talk about the different scams that you should be looking out for and what it is that you want to see from the media so that we keep you informed as much as possible and help you keep your money in your pocket. We'll take a short break. We're back in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. So we're still discussing the worrying trend of online scams that are leaving holes in the pockets of already cash-strapped South Africans. And we now answer the question, really, is the media doing enough to educate the public on these scams? And what constitutes a financial scam? How do we spot one? Is the media doing enough to bring you that information? We're taking your calls on 011-714-0661. We continue the discussion, though, that my colleague, Mosam Kalipi, had with Marcelo Vieira. Take a look.
Are there like platforms that people and businesses can go to get help? So, to lessen, being targeted? Or are there platforms where people can go to, or organizations that people can go to?
Look, there are a number, and there's a number of public government institutions that I think the consumers need to be aware of that there are. So to start off with, there is the Cybersecurity Hub, which is available and where you should be reporting any potential cyber crimes, specifically those that a consumer has been impacted by. Over and above that, if you look at the Cyber Crimes Act, right, the Cyber Crimes Act has enforced, was brought about the fact that the police need to have a task force to deal and handle cyber crimes, right? So as it is now, I mean, you should be able to walk into any police station and report a cyber crime, and the police officer should know who to redirect your request to, because there is a cyber crimes unit that's well geared to be able to deal with cyber crime. So between the Cybersecurity Hub, the SAPS, I think there's quite a number of forums that you should be able to deal with. I mean, over and above that, Google. Google is your friend. End of the day, I mean, if you're not sure, call Google, do a search on Google to identify whether there's any other forums, and there are a number. I mean, at the end of the day, there's if it's like, for instance, something to do with your finances, with your banking requirements. I mean, phone the call center, phone the bank's call centers. Their staff are trained to be able to deal with matters like that.
Now, that's an interesting one. Just how much recourse is there for victims of online scams? We're taking your call, 011-714-0661. Roger's on the line in the Western Cape. Roger, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yes, thanks for calling.
Yes, I recently wanted to take out a 24-month Wi-Fi contract. Now, understandably, they wanted copies of my bank statement so they could check my creditworthiness. That I don't mind. But on the detailed part of your bank statement, you've got the detailed listing of all your incomings and outgoings with reference numbers, who made the incoming or where the outgoing was going to, and so forth and so on. Now, I objected to showing in that part of the bank statement because that gives them the criminals chance to get into your accounts. On the first page of the 3-page bank statement, the bank had listed in summary form, in bar chart form, the total incomings, the total outgoings, the total debit orders, how much was paid for annuity and so forth, simply as a figure, not as the name of the organization concerned. So the service provider had all the information they wanted on that first page. They would not accept it. They insisted, and I gave them the detailed listings of the following pages. So what I did in the end, I told them that I was going to cookie out the name of all the people listed. They could see the debits and credits, the value, but they could not see who generated these particular figures in the first place.
And did that work? So did the service provider accept that?
Eventually, yes, after much comment. Their comment back was that they don't like it, but I was making such a fuss about it. I even threatened to take them to the protection of personal information people, because it is exposing me to too much chance of criminal action against me.
Yeah, well done, Roger.
In the end, they said, oh, okay, we'll take it, we don't want it, but in this case, okay.
Yeah, well done, Roger. That's very brave and very diligent, that, right? To say, well, let's not just hand over documents. I know the value of what I'm giving to you, and I'm going to protect it. And it's concerning that he had to go as far as to threaten to report them to the authorities for them to accept the documents. But that speaks of, I suppose, a level of proactiveness that we might not all have. With the package with Marcelo Vieira from KPMG, he talked about recourse, and I think that's an important one, right? After your what happened to you, did you feel that there was a place to go for help other than going to the bank?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I felt that there's nothing I could do. He could not be traced, the Byron guy. So I lost. Where do I go? Do I go to the police station? Is it even regulated?
Yeah.
How much education do I have about them? Nothing.
Recourse.
Look, it's very difficult. We mentioned the FTX situation. Still today, companies have written off their losses, and the legal system is trying to find a way on how to get justice. But the problem is these are sophisticated organizations. They study each and everything to legitimize themselves. I give credit to the caller that just called in and what they did. It's not quite practical, but that proactiveness is very, very important. Hence I'm saying, if something is introduced to you, verify it with a professional. Sit with someone. If you don't have access to a professional, talk to someone. Remove emotions, remove the dream of getting the highest return and all these things. Make sure you practicalize these things. And one thing that has been common, that has been said, never use credit to fund investments, because that is a number one rule. Because what you're doing effectively when you're doing that, you are expecting those returns to come. And that means you're expecting a guaranteed return. There's no investment, whether legitimate or scam or whatever the case may be.
That is guaranteed.
There's no guaranteed income.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, and we wanted to touch on this earlier. We didn't actually get to it. When you see something like a Bitcoin opportunity that's come up, and you see a celebrity on it, a lot of us get sold. I mean, just some words of advice on that, Brett.
Look, once again, how we work with clients is you come with whatever investment opportunity that you're trying to look at. We teach you the difference between there's actual investments that are proven, whether you go to a bank or an actual investment company, and then there's speculative investments, of which the very same institutions, they also operate in that realm. But now the difference is speculative investments are risky, and you need to go in understanding exactly that. Then we construct a financial plan whereby we look at your living expenses. We get down to your disposable income. Within your disposable income, we want to understand how much money are you able to lose should you invest in anything.
Yeah.
And that's very important. Once you come down and say, I'm willing to lose 1,000 rand, it won't affect my life, my livelihood, whatever, everything that involves your life, it will not affect your quality of life.
Don't get sold by the Kardashian. Look at the data.
Yes.
That's
because
the point.
Celebrities will be used. I mean, there's currently adverts going on with OctaFX using celebrity DJs and so forth. OctaFX is a legitimate broking trading platform, but the problem is what they're selling you. Once you've downloaded that app, they just want you to put money in there. It's not a scam, but the problem is you will lose money. Do you know how to trade? Do you know what you're doing?
Yeah.
And that's the issue.
Yeah,
knowledge.
it's financial education that's necessary as well. We talked about this earlier. The list goes on and on and on about the different kinds of scams. I remember hearing about phishing, and now we've got the pyramid schemes. And then, I mean, we've even seen Netflix shows about dating scams. There's so many. Can we go through some of them? A few of them that stand out for you, that are quite popular lately, especially.
Okay, so I'm going to take it a couple of steps back and just move away from the investment side for a second or two. So one of the scams that we've seen is actually something that starts off online, but then exits that arena, and that's Facebook Marketplace. And are there people advertising things on Facebook Marketplace? It's this online platform which serves a very legitimate purpose, but that also has their criminals on there. People then respond to these adverts, and unfortunately we've seen a couple of cases in December where people have gone to, for example, they've purchased the phone, they go arrange the collection spot to exchange money for the phone, and then they were robbed. And then the money was taken and their handbags were taken and they took off. I saw a case in December where somebody sold a car via Facebook Marketplace, and they took it for a test drive, and on the second test drive took somebody with, and they were robbed and held at gunpoint, and the car was taken and the money. So here you've got an online scam that originates there, like on Facebook Marketplace, but then exits and becomes an actual physical crime as well. Also things where people enter competitions. I mean, it's such a favorite thing to enter competitions or to enter your details to win a voucher, as an example. And consumers end up giving their name, their cell phone number, their email, they click tick boxes without really reading what data is being used and taken. And immediately, if there's a fraudster behind that, they've got all this information that you just handed over to them. And something that we see a lot that consumers unfortunately do is we are creatures of habit. We tend to use the exact same username and password on everything. So if a Wi-Fi, for example, a public Wi-Fi was spoofed, and you've now entered your email address as your username and your favorite password, they've got access. They can then go onto your Gmail and see, does it work? Does it work on this platform? And there they've got access to most of your information. Sure. So we need to be vigilant, and for example, something simple as changing your passwords regularly, not making it something that's quite obvious, or things like that. Small steps that we as consumers can take to protect ourselves. The biggest thing that I always say is read. Yeah, read.
I think that's a really good one. And of course, as the media, will do our very best as well to keep you informed. Thank you so much to our guests, Vanolia Maredikekana, Elanka Badanost, Managing Executive at Wireless Application Service Providers Association, or WESPA, as well as Mr. Bright Patle, who is a financial and accounting planner. We're back with you again next week, Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us, and have yourselves a fabulous Sunday afternoon.